Do flies belong in restaurants? Should I be able to bring my service fly, this little guy right here, in the restaurant with me? He's providing emotional support. Come on. Look at him. Isn't he cute? Come on, everybody. Pet him, touch him. Should I be able to do that? No. So, we shouldn't be bringing dogs in restaurants either. And today, I'll show you why. First, we go right over to this study right here. So, let us read a little bit from the abstract. Numerous scientific surveys have demonstrated that houseflies harbor bacterial pathogens that pose a threat to humans and animals. Yeah. And look at this right here. Some pathogens replicate and persist in the fly, permitting prolonged shedding and dissemination. So that means the fly can spread disease all over, and the disease will be on the fly, just sitting there replicating, and the fly is just giving it a free ride all over the place. Here's a picture from our study. So these studies primarily say that farm animals are the culprit for creating all these flies. So if you notice on our picture right here, we have the barbecuing family, and it looks like they're getting poisoned by the flies. But you see, not everybody lives next to a farm like this. So this is kind of misrepresented, and people really don't understand this. This right here, this little barbecue family, that dog is going to be shitting on the ground, and then those flies can go into the farm or into restaurants or picnic areas. So I just want to show you guys this picture because it's something to consider. A lot of people will say, oh, that's just because of farm animals. But you don't realize the dog feces is a big part of this too. Not many people live right next to a farm. So flies transmit 65 diseases to humans, including food poisoning and many others. Okay, look at this. The flies can travel up to 20 miles, true, but they typically are only found within a mile of their breeding site. Okay, so having a backyard barbecue next to a farm, not everybody's doing that. We're having backyard barbecues in restaurants and other food service next to piles and piles of dog feces, not cattle feces. So that means that the source of all of these bacteria and food poisoning are coming from another feces, another breeding ground, not necessarily a farm or ranch. So it's well known that flies are attracted to feces. It provides a food source, and it also provides a place to lay their eggs. It can lead to an increase in fly populations. Okay, so let's look at this. So a fly within a minute can lay eggs into the dog feces, and those can hatch into maggots in as little as 1 day. So see, these things can populate an area pretty quick. And look at this. A maggot takes 4 to 6 days to transform into a fly, and then in about 24 hours, the fly can go around and start reproducing again. Yeah, so all it takes is a little while and some dog turds left somewhere, and you can easily have a fly population. So these flies, some of the pathogens that they carry, cause food poisoning. So they land on the decaying organic material, and then they pick it up and spread it around, and they provide a place for it to replicate. So on dog feces, these are filled with salmonella and E. coli, and that's where the flies are landing. This is a health risk to dogs and humans, and it can cause all types of problems. So the three most common ones, that's Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. Those are the ones causing like the food poisoning and all that stuff, the infections in your gut. Well, they're transmitted by flies. They pick it up from decaying material, and then they contaminate surfaces where they land. Flies are known to carry millions of bacteria, and they're significant vectors for foodborne illnesses. Yeah, so you don't want this fly in your restaurant, I don't think. So next up, food poisoning cases. So this is what we're talking about. All those bacteria, that's what causes them. 25% rise in confirmed illnesses versus the previous year. Hospitalization and death related to foodborne illness has doubled during this time. So somehow we're getting more of this bacteria into our food, onto our surfaces, onto our hands, And so, how could this happen? Could it be because of dogs in restaurants and dogs providing a perfect breeding and eating ground for these flies? So, food poisoning linked to restaurants. So, the other summary I showed you was just overall, but specifically linked to restaurants is increasing too. Significant increases. The main pathogens involved are, you see, those ones we looked at before: Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. A fly can easily pick all those up off a dog turd, fly into the restaurant, land somewhere, and then just going to go in your mouth. So, what else is increasing? Dog friendly restaurants are on the rise. Yeah. So, more and more dog friendly restaurants. What's that going to mean? That's going to mean more fly friendly restaurants. Dog feces attracts the flies. The CO2 the dog breathes attracts the flies. The moisture and food and stuff that's going to be on the floor when the dog sits in the restaurant attracts the flies. So, look at this. Many restaurants are located near dog parks, providing dog-friendly dining options. So some restaurants are purposely located by dog parks. Like, what? Wow. You want your restaurant to be full of flies? I guess so. So, houseflies themselves are increasingly appearing in restaurants. So, that's crazy. Restaurants already spend a bunch of money to cure this problem. Notice right here what they say: warmer weather. They're going to blame warmer weather. Yeah, they're going to. If you read some of these articles, they say it's all because of global warming. You know, it's not because of all the dog feces right next door in the dog-filled apartment or dog park. No, it's global warming is why the restaurants are filled with flies. Anyways, let's go to our next little summary. So, dog parks are well known to have a significant presence of flies due to dog feces. Yeah. If you've ever walked around a dog park enough times, you'll probably find a pile of dog feces with some maggots in there getting ready to hatch into flies. It's really gross. I remember as a kid seeing that out on walks when people would leave their dog poop out. It's so nasty, you guys. But yeah, dog parks right next to freaking restaurants. Next slide. So the dogs even poop in the restaurants. Huh. This is one of the complaints that has gone from not very common to very much more common. So poop in the restaurants, that means flies in the restaurants. And interestingly, not only do dogs poop in restaurants, but some restaurants actually have staff that cleans up after the dog. Like, I believe Home Depot has their employees pick up dog poop too. So imagine that. You're working in a restaurant, you want to be a food service person, be part of the fun, friendly atmosphere, and your boss says, "Hey, go out there and pick up some dog poop." You know, and what happens if you don't pick it up perfectly? Are you going to get a little bit of dog poop on your fingers and then touch something in the restaurant and then a fly is going to come buzzing over to that? Yeah, there is no perfect setup for getting rid of dog poop. There's always going to be cross contamination. Even a bag of dog poop that you see out on the trail will always have dozens of flies on it. You know, they can sense that stuff's in there because tiny particles of it are on the outside. Okay, next up. Now, some dog-friendly restaurants, they require pet owners to clean up, right? So, I mean, that makes sense. But check this out. Some restaurants will provide poop bags for the owners. You know, well, of course, if there's a pile of poop on the floor, they're going to go get whatever they can to pick it up. But that's just another expense on everybody else. That's another component to all this. This is just going to increase everybody's cost. More dogs in restaurants equals the restaurants have to pay their employees to pick up dog poop or provide poop bags to the customers. And so your bacon sandwich that you buy or your steak or seared salmon is going to cost X amount more because they have to provide more services for lazy narcissistic dog owners that can't leave their dog home for a couple hours. Next up. So restaurants spend a lot of money on fly control measures already. So they spend tons of money trying to keep these flies out, and then they bring in a known fly attractant. They put the restaurant next to a dog park. And even if the dogs aren't in the restaurant, if there's a dog close to the restaurant, there's going to be feces. So if your restaurant is close to an apartment complex with lots of little doggies, there's going to be more flies in your restaurant. And The reason I mention that is, again, this dog culture is a financial burden on everybody. If you put a restaurant up in a parking lot and you've spent money to control these flies, but the dog owners let their dogs shit in the parking lot like they do, or there's all these backyards full of dog turds, your fly control measures are going to be significantly underpowered. You're going to have to go spend more money, and then you're going to have to put that cost onto your customers that come into your restaurant. And that's not good, making everybody pay for this stupid, nasty dog ownership. And so, fur, the dog fur. Yeah, dog fur can have these bacteria too. And where do flies land? They land on the dog fur. When you go into a restaurant, what's everybody doing? Everybody's expecting the dog to be touched and stuff. The restaurant manager is going to come out there. Oh, look at you and your pupper. Let's give them a little rub on the head. Yeah, and then that restaurant manager or whatever, the maitre d', the hostess, after they rubbed up on your dog that probably had flies landing on it a little while ago, they're going to go pick up a plate and serve somebody a side salad. Yeah, ridiculous. Yep, and so flies land on fur and transmit bacteria, as we already are aware of. So some dog owners leave poop in parking lots. This is a common complaint that I have looked up here. So dog owners let their dogs poop in the parking lots. What do restaurants have? Parking lots. Yep, another source of flies and feces. So the government is also part of this. So look at this right here. While there's no specific government's incentives, they encourage outdoor dining with dogs, which they say can help attract more customers and boost business. So you're not directly incentivized to have a dog-friendly restaurant, but if you don't comply with certain government rules on dog-friendly restaurants, then they can shut you down. So that's another part of this. By having a dog-friendly restaurant, you're increasing your risk and liability, because if you don't you can easily be found to have sickness because of a dog-borne illness via the flies and feces. Then they can shut you down, or customers can sue you, and then you go bankrupt or something. So, on that note, let's look at some of that. The restaurant industry is currently facing a high rate of bankruptcies. Wow. So wait a minute. Didn't they just say here that this is going to boost business? Well, it doesn't look like it is. And so another thing restaurants are facing is increasing lawsuits from food poisoning. Well, you're bringing a food poisoning, bacteria carrying creature into your place, and then the flies are a big part of that. Flies are synonymous with dogs, dog feces. Wow, that's not good for the restaurant industry. And additionally, this can be a burden on taxpayers indirectly, because look at this, it's a cost for creditors. So when a restaurant goes bankrupt, the people that loan the restaurant money, now they have to increase their loan rates and increase their other things so that they can cover this, because they loaned a restaurant maybe it's $1 million, and they're only getting some of it back because of the bankruptcy. Well, now they got to go charge higher interest rates for their other loans, and that means the taxpayers in the end are going to have to pay because they're going to basically have to spend more money on everything else. So let's look at this thing about the ADA. So service dog users are not required to provide proof of documentation. So that means you can go in there with the dumbest, goofiest dog that's about to take a big dump, that has a couple flies buzzing around it, and legally they don't have to ask you, what does that dog actually do for you there, bud? You can get in big trouble as soon as that happens. It's like the Huddle Bar experiment, or the Huddle Bar story in my other video. They'll be all over Facebook calling your business worthless, saying that your whole business should be shut down. And not only that, but the ADA, this place right here, they can come after you too. So the problem with fake service dogs is growing as many people misrepresent their pets. So think about that. We got all these fake service dogs out there that people drag into these restaurants, and then the restaurants are powerless. They're powerless to protect their business. That's a big part of this. We're really hammering these business owners with this, making them nervous, full of anxiety, because if somebody brings a dog in and causes a problem, they have to step on eggshells. And this fake service dog thing, This is a huge issue all over the place. New task force to track down these dogs, which of course is another taxpayer expense to go and try to take down these fake service dogs. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So next up, so restaurants, many restaurants face lawsuits because of the ADA. So you go in there with your service dog or your fake service dog and you make a fuss, they can sue you. Yeah, so but that's a significant tax on these restaurants being sued because they don't want a dog in their restaurant. You know, maybe they don't want a dog in there because there's flies buzzing around it. Maybe they don't want a dog in there because the thing looks pretty gross and it probably has bacteria all over it. But nope, they're just going to get sued if they don't accommodate individuals with disabilities. You know, and this is so crazy. These service dog things are so crazy. It's like a 90-pound frail person with a giant dog that can knock them over, and they say they need it to detect diabetes or something crazy. Yeah, so here's our little flies, you guys. Do we need to have these in restaurants? I don't think so. I think dog culture already produces so many extra flies. We are already taxing the restaurants because everywhere we go, there's going to be a dog yard next to a restaurant, which means feces, which means flies, which means more and more sicknesses buzzing right into those restaurants. See you guys later.